the Bears in the win column. Chicago wins again. They beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 20-19 on the Thursday night kickoff game for what's going to be another wonky Week 5 in the NFL. Cairo Santos boating a 38-yard field goal with 1:17 left, and that was the difference. And that's big news when a Chicago Bears kicker doesn't puke all over themselves and actually makes a kick that turns out to be the game winner. That's rare, right? It's very rare. But don't bury the lead, my man. All right, we're not going to bury the lead. So the moment of this game, the defining moment, is not the Cairo Santos kick. It's what happened after that. So the Bears had to kick off. They had a lead at that point. They had a 1-point lead. They kicked off with 1:17 to go. The Buccaneers got the ball, and someone named DeAndre Houston Carson broke up Tom Brady's pass. It was 4th down with 33 seconds left, and that just moments after Santos kicked the go-ahead field goal. But that even doesn't tell you what the story here is. The story is after that play, Tom Brady put 4 fingers up. 4 fingers, right? Just like that. And appeared pretty obviously to not realize game situation. Bad football IQ by Tom Brady in that situation. I don't know how you could think otherwise. Chicago took over on downs, and that was it. Game, set, and match. The better story in the losing locker room here. Now, Bruce Arians, you got to hear what Arians said. Bruce Arians was asked right after the game about what everyone saw. You didn't have to be in the stadium. No fans were allowed in Chicago. But if you have functioning eyeballs, or even if you have functioning eardrums, which is the only way you can hear this show, if you heard the radio call, you know exactly what happened. But listen to Bruce Arians asked about Tom Brady not knowing it was 4th down on that fateful last play for the Buccaneers.
Bruce, at the end of the game there, that last drive, it looked like Tom might have been confused with what down it was. Did he not know it was 4th down?
Yeah, he knew.
You're a liar! You are a liar! Now, Tom Brady, I'm getting all worked up. Tom Brady, when asked himself in the post-game video presser whether or not he was aware that it was 4th down, he didn't give a definitive, yeah, he knew, like Bruce Arians. Instead, Tom Brady said, "You're up against the clock. I knew we had to gain a chunk, so I should have been thinking more 1st down instead of chunk on that down." Close quote from Tom Brady. Okay, let's discuss. The question, what the hell happened to Tom Brady at the end of this game? So we can sit here and talk until the sun rises, and we usually do most days. But this game, it's really about the game within the game. The Buccaneers were sputtering along. Even though they had the lead at several points of the game, they came out early. They had a 13-0 lead. But they were vulnerable. And they had obviously fallen behind with the Santos kick. They still worked their way into position. And it was set up for a vintage Tom Brady game-winning drive. Set up the kicker. Boom! Right down the uprights. You win the game. It was directly out of central casting. It was like a Hollywood setup. In fact, as it was happening, I was thinking in my head, I'm thinking, okay, is this more WWE Vince McMahon, or is this more like Adam Silver scripted so the Lakers get every foul call and they win the game that way? I'm just trying to figure out which one it was. So the Bears coach now, you know who got bailed out on this? Matt Nagy, the coach of the Bears. He absolutely botched the clock management. He attempted a pass when Tampa was out of timeouts before the field goal. It was incomplete. That left a bunch of time, and certainly a manageable amount of time, for Tom Brady to march the ball down the field. He left the door open. The Bears coach left the door open. And so the Buccaneers went on this drive. They took over after the kickoff with 1:13 to go. So the kickoff took 4 seconds. They had 1:13 to go and down by 1. And again, it was perfectly laid out, right? Just everything just where you want it. Everything's right there. And this was going to be Tom Brady's first big moment in Tampa. And then He pooped the bed. And in the end there, Brady losing track of the downs. That is, up until this point, it's only been 5 weeks. That's the defining moment of Tom Brady as a Buccaneer. Prove me wrong. Prove me. Oh, what about the Charger game? No. This right here against the Bears, until he does something to trump that, this is the moment. That's the moment. It was humiliating. It was mortifying, equal parts of those things. You were the greatest quarterback in the history of your sport. You left the Patriots in large part because they didn't have good players around you, and you wanted to prove on some level that it was you, it wasn't Belichick, why you were successful, right? And then you get completely gobsmacked. You look like Brian Hoyer, not knowing game situation, and you have this massive hiccup. Now, part B here. If there is a silver lining to this, it's that Tom Brady will find a way to monetize it. There are some marketing dollars to be made. Turn a negative into a positive. Why not? I would expect Tom Brady to be doing some kind of airline commercial coming up, right? Can you imagine Brady as the pitch man if they bring back those old Southwest Airlines want to get away commercials? That was a want to get away moment personified by Brady when he put the four fingers up. I don't know. When he put the four fingers, he's announcing, I'm an idiot. I don't know. How dare you? Bad job by you. But and if not the airline, how about the new face of Pepto-Bismol? Hey, it's Tom Brady. If you're like me and you're suffering from nausea, heartburn, indigestion, an upset stomach, and diarrhea all at the same time, boy, do I have a medicine for you. So the other thing here is, who is the real Tom Brady in 2020? The question has to be asked, because coming into this game, Brady had two really good games, two explosive games that were of a classical nature. The Charger game, the Denver game. And so he had played very well there, but a couple other games, cover your nose. I'm covering my nose right now because he stunk. He was not good. And so this game on Thursday, I feel like this game was a microcosm of who the Buccaneers have in Tom Brady in one game. Because Brady, when I was a kid, I used to love, it was called Fruit Stripe Gum. And I think I got it like a Toys R Us, but they had like a bunch of different flavors. You didn't know what you're going to get. You get grape, the cherry, they had the lemon, a bunch of other flavors. You didn't know what you're going to get. And that's like Tom Brady from quarter to quarter. In this game, in the first and third quarter of the game, if you combine the first and third quarter, Tom Brady was majestic against Chicago. He completed 72% of his passes in the first and third quarter combined. He averaged over 8 yards an attempt. He had a passer rating of 115, had a touchdown, and was looking good. But then you want to cover your eyes when you look at what happened in the second and the fourth quarter as Tom Brady performed like a clogged toilet. All right, clogged toilet. He had 52% completion percentage, which is miserable. He averaged less than 5 yards an attempt. What happened to all those playmakers? What happened to those playmakers? You left the Patriots because you wanted those great Buccaneer pass catchers. What happened? I know. They're all hurt. I know. There's a bunch of excuses. His passer rating combined in the second and the fourth quarter was 64.5, which I do not think is good. Not that I'm a football guy, but I don't think that's good. All right, last word here. So Bruce Arians on the sidelines, we played the soundbite earlier from Arians here. He looked like he was going to have a coronary at times. This guy's had health problems. I mean, say what you want about Brady. Say what you want about the big picture. There is a crack in the sidewalk with the Buccaneers, and you can make all kinds of excuses. It was a short week. The offensive line had issues. Road team, blah, 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 blah. Bottom line, the fact that Tampa had a chance to win the game is stunning because they went to the cafeteria prior to the game. Cafeteria was open. They ordered up sloppy joes for everyone, right? The weather was not an issue in Chicago. It will be later in the year. They got a break. The weather was not a problem. There was no attention to detail by the players. Bruce Arians, I don't know what they've been doing the last couple days. The players were maybe not listening or he wasn't coaching. They had 11 penalties for 109 yards. Now, granted, there were a couple of those. There was one where Brady there was a sack, actually, no, Nick Foles, and they called a roughing the passer penalty, which is like a bogus call. But so there were a few ticky-tack penalties, but there were a lot of clear and obvious penalties. So Tampa had a pair of fumbles in this game. They converted just 29% of third downs. And the Buccaneers had just one drive of 60 or more yards in the game. They got to the red zone 3 times and only got one touchdown they converted in the red zone, and they had to settle for 4 field goals altogether. So to sum this all up into a nice little package, Brady, shaky. This is what you're going to get from Tom Brady. Quarter here he's good, quarter there he's good, quarter there he sucks. It's a work in progress is what I'm trying to say. It's a work in progress. But so every team's a work in progress. But yeah, Tampa, they thought they were going to go into Chicago. They were a 3.5-point road favorite. The Bears with noodle arm Nick Foles, they were going to walk out of there with a win, and ta-da! Didn't happen.